Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds in 3 years. If you'd like to join the family, hit that subscribe button. Also, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays when I go live on YouTube around 4 p.m. Central Time. Or if you want to reach out to me outside of YouTube, you can consider joining the Discord I created. There is a link for that down in the description below. Also down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. People often ask me what kind of foods that we've been enjoying on our diet, and that is a great place to find the some different recipes for some whole food plant-based meals. Today is day 816 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. I've used a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food plant-based salt, oil, sugar-free diet to lose 241.6 pounds so far today after my 1.6 pound weight loss today on my way in. So I have about 9 months left to go on the challenge, a little more than 55 pounds, almost 60 pounds left to go, but I'm excited to reach my goal and to live the rest of my life at a healthy weight. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your non-scale victories. Being that it's weigh-in Wednesday, I'd love to hear your on-scale victories too. If you are struggling with your diet, what's causing your struggles? If you're succeeding, let us know what you're doing to succeed. And at the end of the day, what are some of the things that you're doing to make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? So we're going to hit there and there. A bunch of comments here. Let me see if I can run through them real quick. Rick, hello. Plants Only Muncher, Tennis and Yoga Girl, hello. Cindy, Christy, Janet. Let's see. Amy, thanks. Yes, great weigh-in today. Thank you. Plants Only Muncher. Let's get started. Nutmeg Notebook starts at the top of the hour. All right, let's see. Thanks, Janet. 265, Anthony. I'm not sure what that is. You don't know. Let's see. Hello, pretty girl's mom. Carrie, hello. Hope everything's going home. You got the kids up the hill. It's snowing here, so it's a little bit rough. Our Tiny Acre says you're still at 268, but you're still at 268. One of the biggest things that I've held on to during kind of my whole middle period of this diet is that I've maintained weight loss. And that's something that I'd never really felt like I'd ever been able to do. I was either eating this starvation diet or this diet of excess. And so I was either losing weight or gaining weight, but never maintaining weight. Carrie says that she's down a few pounds since starting the reboot. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad that the reboot has been helping you. And I think that the reboot has been a big contributor to my success this last week or the last 2 weeks. The 4 pounds that I lost last week and then the 1.6 this week. Just changing the overall calorie density of the food. And, you know, it's taking a bunch of the things that I've talked about over the past months into consideration too, is that, you know, that I'm fine tuning the diet. I'm making changes. I've started to kind of push when I eat breakfast till later in the morning, kind of making that fasting window just a little bit longer than I had been having it with my regular schedule. Carrie says it feels good to see the scale move again. Yes. And just having the reboot has been great for us, and it's recommitted Carrie to sticking to the whole food plant-based, the salt, oil, sugar-free. And boy, am I eating a ton of broccoli. And the California balsamics vinegar. Eating a lot of that as well. I'll go ahead and try to pull up my food from the past 24 hours. I guess I don't know if I really went over it, but if you didn't catch my weigh in today, I got on the scale. I was 279.8. I weighed in today at 278.2. So it was a 1.6 pound weight loss in the past week. I'm very happy with it. Rebecca says that she made the yummy butterscotch pudding today. It was so good. The bananas and sweet potatoes with all the flavors. Yes, it was great. Our Tiny Acres asked, what flavors do I like best with the California balsamic? It's really tough. We just finished off the curry, the bottle of curry. Carrie says she's buying multiple bottles of curry next time. It's beyond good. Yeah, we really like the curry. I do like the teriyaki flavors. But I enjoy all of them. I like the ability to go but go from one to the other so it doesn't get stale or doesn't get repetitive. I really like the 7 herb. I probably like the curry more than that. And there's a lot of flavors that we haven't tried yet too. So, yeah, all of them have been wonderful. So let me see if I can pull up photos since yesterday. Let me see. That's breakfast yesterday, dinner yesterday. All right. So, Amy here says that she tried a replica of the butterscotch pudding you guys had, but you don't have the exact recipe. Does it call for white or orange sweet potatoes? I believe it's orange sweet potatoes. And Carrie here says that the sweet heat makes your broccoli taste like Chinese food. Yes, the sweet heat is also very good as well. Cindy, thank you so much. I appreciate the super sticker donation there. We will be using it to buy some more California balsamic. They should be thanking you. Yes, he said get some more broccoli. Yes, we can get a lot of broccoli with that there. It's popping up on the screen now. So I appreciate it so much. It's great. So Carrie says, thank you. Yes. Yeah, that's a lot of bags of broccoli at like 97 cents a pound. That can be quite a bit. So let's go ahead and check on the food from the past 24 hours. So right now I talked a little bit yesterday about how I've really been enjoying these recipes that Carrie's been making on the reboot. One of the things that I've noticed with at least the 2 of the recipes is that it made an incredible amount of food. So as a result of that incredible amount of food that gets made with these meals, we're having leftovers. We had leftovers last night for dinner. I believe we're having leftovers for this evening's dinner. We don't have a lot of containers at the house to put all of the leftovers in, especially the quantities that they seem to be in. So for dinner last night, we had the mushroom chili, I think is what it was called. And then I mixed it with rice. I really liked it. Very filling amount of food. I think I had this, I don't know if I had another serving of it or not, but it was an incredible amount of food. Amy here says that she used the Japanese when she did the pudding, and she really loved it. It was very sweet. And Pretty Girl's mom also says that she used the Japanese sweet potatoes, which sounds great. And it does sound like it would be very sweet. Janet here's throwing the recipe up. It's 2 large ripe bananas, half a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice, a half a teaspoon of vanilla powder. You roast in preheat oven at 400 degrees for 60 to 90 minutes. There you go. So, the dinner last night was awesome. I'm looking here and realizing I didn't take a lot of photos. I do have a bunch of photos of my face here. I was doing some comparison photos yesterday, and I put a couple together here. So it's going to take a minute for this to pop up. But here is here's one here from just before I started this diet in 2020, and then a selfie I took last night. So just the biggest things I notice is the face seems so much slimmer. And around my eyes, I really notice a lot. And then not so much maybe this photo, but one of the other ones I did here. This one here, maybe if it pops up, we'll see. One of the things I notice difference here is my neck. Just like being able to see kind of my collarbone and being able to see my neck. It's such a big difference in my face. And in this one, I really see a difference around my eyes. Like just like my upper eyelids seem so puffy in the before photo, and they look much different here. And so, and the Carrie saying here that she never cooked ours, and it looks like it was supposed to be cooked. Well, I guess, yeah. So we'll have to try it cooked and see if it's better. I still enjoyed it, but that's funny. That's Carrie doesn't read directions. Yes, Carrie's always one ingredient short of having the actual recipe, right? That's the joke around the house is I would come home and Carrie would be like, "Oh, we're having this for dinner, except for I don't have this ingredient, so I subbed this for that." Or we're having this, but we're not because I'm having this, and we have to substitute this. But so yes, read the directions. So yes, that's a before and after photo. I'm really surprised at the difference between it so far, and I'm very excited to see the difference that I'm gonna have in the end. And then today I forgot to take a picture of my bag of broccoli that I had before my oatmeal, but I did have a bag of broccoli, threw in a little bit of the curry California balsamic on top of that, and I had that before I ate the kind of main breakfast, I guess, or the oatmeal that I ate. And I ended up pushing and not eating breakfast till about 11:30 this morning, which has been something, like I said, I've been trying to do, just trying to make that fasting window a little bit larger between the previous night's dinner and the next morning's breakfast. And so far it hasn't really been a problem for me. And I feel I like doing it. I kind of like having that little bit of hunger moment, or like actually feeling like, hey, I should eat, instead of just eating ahead of schedule. Our Tiny Acre says you'll have to try broccoli with balsamic, might get it easier to eat, make it easier to eat. Yeah, it would definitely help. That's anything with adding flavor, adding seasoning to it. A lot of that is going to just help to make it more palatable, help get it down. I know that, well, I don't recommend having salt. One of the doctors that I do follow had made a comment about, like, if adding a little bit of salt is the difference between you eating broccoli and not eating broccoli, then add the salt as long as you're eating the broccoli. And so it kind of, if there is a food that you don't like that, adding a seasoning, adding a flavoring might make it more palatable, and then you might find that you enjoy it more. I'm amazed at how well I have adapted to eating broccoli, and how much I enjoy it. Like for lunch today, we'll see how far behind this camera is. And Carrie says it's nice to change up the flavor when you're eating 2 bags a day. Yes, it is nice to change up the flavor. This isn't the best photo here, but this is my large bowl of food with a whole bag of broccoli on top of it. I polished off the bottle of the curry that we had, mixing it all together, making my my lunch today. But yeah, it's nice having a little bit of a change. And for a while there, I was eating this without any flavoring, and I would still enjoy doing that, I'm sure. It's just, I have in here. Janet here says that okay. So it's her mistake. She roasts the sweet potatoes and let them cool, peel them, place all the ingredients in a blender, blend until smooth and creamy, and then chill. So Carrie, you were not wrong. It was Janet that, you bake the potatoes and then you cool it at the end. Our Tiny Acre says that I have been getting told to add salt by your doctor because your sodium is always low. And if that's your case, then that might be something worth trying out. I would also look into foods that maybe have a higher sodium count. If you're adverse to eating broccoli, do you eat much celery? I personally, for as little broccoli I ate even less celery before I started this diet. And so we eat a lot more celery now, which I'm sure we get some sodium from, but maybe look at some veggies that are higher in sodium. Yeah, Cindy, well, that's kind of, she's asking like how Cindy's asking about with the pudding, how you mixed up the raw potato. And so I kind of had paused earlier when I was talking about that, because I was like, well, obviously you bake the potato before you do that. But our Tiny Acres, you say you've been eating celery with hummus lately, but you are not a fan. Yeah, celery is something that it's grown on me more. The only celery I've eaten recently that was a snack was celery with peanut butter on it. But that has been a couple months at this point since I've done that, or even that's been on the menu, I guess. But look at some of those higher sodium foods. And if you're not cutting out sodium anyways, it might not make much of a difference to do that either. So this was the food that I had for the past 24 hours. Lots of wonderful food, lots of leftovers. Tonight will be a continuation of that. We will have more leftovers for dinner tonight. The one we have is it's like a sweet potato soup. I can't remember the name of it, but it uses like an orange juice as the base, which is very interesting. And I really like it. Rick here says that I hate celery, period. Yeah, that's the way I felt about a lot of foods. I really did. And I've come to the conclusion about some of the foods, it doesn't really matter what my opinion is, as long as it's palatable, as long as I can get it down, that it's good for me to eat, as far as the whole food plants, or the things like celery, rice, cucumbers, zucchini, broccoli. Our Tiny Acre says, do you steam the broccoli? Yes, we just buy them in the bags that you steam them. I think they're like 1 pound bags that I throw them in the microwave for 5.5 minutes. It steams the whole bag, and then I just dump that into the potatoes generally, or when I'm just eating the broccoli itself, I've been eating it just out of the bag to save the dish. Just drain a little bit of the water out of the bag before I put some of the vinegar on it when I eat it. Carrie here says that she needs to get into the habit of freezing leftovers. Yes. Yes. But and the interesting thing too, that I've noticed with this diet, which has probably been this way with everything, and it makes sense, but so much of this food is a mixture of a bunch of ingredients. The mushroom chili that we had has beans and mushrooms and onions and all these flavorings. The soup that I was talking about, also has multiple ingredients in it in itself. And what I've come to find is that with many of these things, like the soups, that the leftovers generally taste as good or better than the first night or the first day that we had it. Like these flavors getting to marinate and kind of sit together actually improves the flavor of the dishes overall. So I don't mind having the leftovers because to me generally they taste better than they did the first day. Um let's see. And So yeah, it's just getting used to eating those foods that you're not getting used to. I try to convince my kids that eventually that they'll start to like it. I think that our body has a bit of a feedback delay when we eat new foods. You know, our bodies are conditioned to just be very happy that we're still alive. And so uh a big part of being happy that you're still alive is also the mindset of whatever I've done up to this point must be good, so I should continue doing that. And that's not always the case, especially in the world that we live in now. But with trying these new foods that you don't like, what I feel like happens, or at least it's happened for me, and it's part of that taste adaptation that happens, is that the first time you have that food and it has that off taste, it's more bitter than you like, or it's saltier than you want, or it's got whatever flavor that you say you don't like about that food. Let's say for me it's cucumber. I never liked cucumber. It just didn't, the flavors were just never, didn't appeal to me. But what I think happened after I started this diet is that once I had cucumber a few times with our salads, is that my body was excited and happy to receive that cucumber once it got to my stomach. But the first time you eat it, or the first few times you eat it, it has this taste that is foreign to you and that maybe you don't like. But then after it gets into your stomach and your body starts digesting it and it starts realizing, hey, there's a bunch of things in this cucumber that we need that we're not getting from the other food. Next time this person eats cucumber, let's give them a positive response or a more positive response so that they start to develop a liking for cucumber. And I believe that's part of what happens. I believe that our body gets these new nutrients or these foods that we aren't used to, and then it takes time for it to send the signal back to the brain and say, hey, next time that comes, we got the guys down here to break it down, and we're looking forward to it. And so but it takes time to get used to the foods, and uh and and the more you get away from the salt and the oil and the sugar, the more you actually taste the actual flavor of the food that you're eating. Rick here says cucumbers are like water with skin. They kind of are. And that, for me, that helps with the salads because it just adds the moisture when I'm chewing. It helps kind of to make it easier to break it down or to chew it up. And let's see. Our Tiny Acres says that you've always loved cucumbers, especially dragon egg cucumbers or lemon cucumbers. See, I don't even know that much about cucumbers, that there's a bunch of different varieties. And that's another, all kinds of cool things that I've learned about this diet. But the food has such a variety of flavors. You know, I see it all the time with our potatoes and our oranges, that we can eat a potato from the same bag and they'll have a completely different flavor. Oranges are the same way. You can have one orange and the orange next to it tastes completely different. And you know, all this fruit, it's amazing that it has different flavors. I think that we get so conditioned from eating fast food and eating this food that is commercialized to appeal to everybody, that we're so used to it tasting the same. If you went to McDonald's and every time you had a cheeseburger, it tasted different, you might be less likely to keep going back to McDonald's, because maybe one of the times, maybe 1 out of every 5 times you get a burger, you don't like how it tastes. So you're not going to go and you're not going to risk your money on that. And so that's kind of what you do when you're eating fresh fruit. You kind of make that risk sometimes that you're going to have something that doesn't taste the best. But for the most part, it's always going to be edible and it's always going to be enjoyable with most foods. The topic I was going to talk about a little bit today is fighting for your health. And who are you fighting for your health? You're fighting yourself a little bit, but I think we're also fighting these industries, the food giants, for our own health, because they are fighting for our money and for our stomach share. They want your dollars. They want the profit from you. They're not concerned about your overall health. As long as you're healthy enough to buy their product, that's all they care about. And it's increasingly easier to buy these products these days. You can order these things from Amazon, have them shipped right to your door. You can do grocery pickup. You don't even have to go inside the grocery store to buy a lot of these foods anymore. You can pay somebody to go to the store and pick it up and deliver it to your house. But these companies, they are just worried about getting you to buy their food and them profiting on it. And they're not concerned about your health. And so you have to realize that. If you don't realize that already, you have to realize it, that anything that you see at the store that's in a box, there's some level of marketing behind it. There's some level of profit margin that somebody's trying to gain from the food that's on the shelves. And the best way that we can combat that is to stop buying the packaged food or the food that's pre-boxed. Go to the produce aisle, buy the fruits and vegetables, individually or in the bags that you can actually see what you're buying. They don't have to hide it behind a playful and colorful box to get you to buy the product. And then they want you, and when you do end up going to the boxes, when you do end up going to the aisles to buy the food, they use every tactic that they can use to get you to buy their product. They want you to buy their product over the competitor. They want you to buy their type of food over another type of food. And so everything that they do in the middle aisles of the store, somebody has spent money to get you to buy their product. They spent money on the placement of it. They spent money on the research for the color of the box, the type font that's used on the box, the advertising that's done on the box. And they use, Anthony says, yes, I purchased some chips today and I thought for a moment that it was placed there for a reason. I'm not exactly sure. Oh yeah, like that they placed the chips at that spot. Yeah, like they absolutely did. Like they put it on that shelf. They faced it a certain way. The lettering is puffed up in a certain style. The bags are a certain shape. It's all placed. It's all intentional with that food when you go in there. And they, for years, they've had things that have kind of, like the nutritional labels that they put on food. Like that initially, when they passed the law to put nutritional labels on food, I believe that there was a lot of good intention. It was a lot of trying to let people know what is actually in the food that you're eating. When you're allowing somebody else to process it, it's important to know what they're putting in it, what they're doing to put it on the shelf. And years and years ago, we might have been able to trust these companies to do what was in the best interest of us. But now they do what's in the best interest of them, what's in the best interest of the product. There's so many products on the shelves today that these companies could make taste better, but because they want the shelf stability, they don't release that product because they know that it won't make it to the shelves and sell through fast enough. So they put these preservatives or they put these chemicals in the foods to help make them sit on the shelf longer. And they do that with our produce too. You know, the produce that you see at the grocery store isn't on accident either. You know, nowadays you see a large variety of apples, but years ago you didn't see the variety of apples that you see now. And a big reason why you didn't see that variety was because they couldn't ship the apples reliably to across the country. There's a lot of variety of apples that are too soft. And so the variety of fruits that we see in the store are the ones that last the longest. They're the ones that can be away from the tree for 2 weeks before they get put on the shelf. And then they can wait on the shelf for 2 days before somebody picks it up. And then they can wait in that person's cupboard for 2 days before they cook it. There's so much food out there that doesn't have that shelf life, that is wonderful food, that if you can find food around you, a lot of it's fruits around you that are natural fruits, they're great to have. But the bananas that we see the bananas that we see because they can transport them, because they have a shelf life. And so that's made with the fresh produce. They do the same stuff with the processed food, but even more, you know, like one of the things I'd looked up in the past is if you look up a ham and cheese hot pocket, the number of ingredients inside of a ham and cheese hot pocket is absurd. I bet it's well over 50, if not 100 ingredients inside of a hot pocket. But if I were to go to somebody and say, hey, make a homemade hot pocket, there'd be like 7 ingredients. But they put these 50 ingredients in the food because they're trying to keep the fat count down. They're trying to keep the sugar count down. They're trying to keep the calorie count down. They're trying to make it look like it has a bunch of calcium in it. So they're fortifying it with certain things. They're putting chemicals in the dough so that it can freeze better, or when it gets microwaved, that it gets cooked better because they put this chemical in it versus another one. Cindy here says that, yeah, if you have a farmer's market in your area, they are great for purchasing fresh and local produce. And you're going to see things that you don't necessarily see at the grocery store because the grocery stores can't make money selling it because it doesn't have a shelf life. And you know, the things they do with labels like the Hot Pocket, you know, something like a Hot Pocket, we all know that it really doesn't have any nutritional value. Nobody on a diet is saying, hey, go eat Hot Pockets. But there's people who aren't on diets that are still eating the food, and they're still looking at the packaging and their labeling and deciding whether or not to eat the Hot Pocket or the lean cuisine. And when they look at the two labels, they end up having a huge amount of confusion, and it's intentional. Like the company, if you look at the Hot Pocket label, again, this is something I looked in 2 months ago. All of the ingredients are written in caps lock. So it's all uppercase. There's no lowercase and there's no commas. And so there might be commas. I doubt it though. But They make it that way so it's very difficult for somebody to actually read and discern what they're reading. If it's all in capital letters, it makes it hard to read. They make misleading health claims on the front of it, that it's great source of vitamin D, or they say that it's got, made with real cheese. And you look at the ingredients, and the ingredient, the second, whatever, I think the fifth or sixth ingredient is cheese, and the following ingredient is artificial cheese. So there's almost as much or just as much artificial cheese as there is real cheese in it, but they put that big claim on the front of it that it has this natural thing, that it's worth buying. And they know words you're looking for on the foods. They know that there's words that people equate to either health or satisfaction, and they do lots of things to make you eat the foods. And then even like with the example, lean cuisine, like lean cuisine is the name of the company. It doesn't mean that the foods are actually a lean cuisine. Like, and they do all these things to trick us, and to deceive us into thinking that what we're buying is healthier than it really is. One of the biggest examples that I had looked up previously is when you look at cereals. If you look at the difference between shredded wheat, Cheerios, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, if you go and grab the boxes at the store, if you look up the nutritional labels, they do a bunch of things with the nutrition labels to make it very deceptive. The first is with the serving sizes. The Cheerios and the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, they both show that their serving sizes are a cup and not, and the shredded wheat, their serving size is 1 1/3 cups. And so right away, they're changing the volume of food that you're eating, like in the dry weight or in the cup of it. But what's really telling is when you look at the actual weight of the food, because a serving of Cheerios is 1 cup of Cheerios, but it only weighs 28 grams. Whereas the serving of shredded wheat that's 1 1/3 cup, that weighs 60 grams. So it's over 2 times the weight of food for the same amount of servings that they arbitrarily made up on the box. Because they could have made the shredded wheat serving size 1 cup, or they could have made the Cheerio size serving 1 1/3 cup. But they didn't do that because they want you to look at that and look at the next line, which most people care about, that they make in big black bold letters, which is the calories per serving. And on a box of shredded wheat, the calories per serving are 210 calories per serving. And on a box of Cheerios, the calories are 100 calories. But it also weighs half as much. So it should have half as much of the calories. But when you just look at the 2 boxes, you say, well, the shredded wheat's better than the Cheerios is better than the shredded wheat, because the Cheerios is 210 calories. Cheerios is 100 calories and the shredded wheat's 210 calories. Or if you look at the Cinnamon Toast Crunch on a box, it says that calories per serving is 170 calories per serving for Cinnamon Toast Crunch. If it's 210 calories per serving for shredded wheat, and it's 170 for Cinnamon Toast Crunch, an uneducated person, somebody who's just looking at that number, is going to say, or the Cinnamon Toast Crunch must be better for me if it's fewer calories, because people get into this calories in, calories out mindset, which is a whole nother rant. And so they're constantly trying to trick us. Yes. And if you take that food, like, they do this stuff to get you to buy their food, and they know that you're going to get a higher dopamine response from the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And also they know that these serving sizes are all BS too, because I've never eaten just 1 cup of cereal when I've had breakfast. I've never gotten a measuring cup out and said, okay, I'm going to have 1 cup of Cinnamon Toast Crunch this morning. No, it's been, I'm going to polish off 3/4 of this box, and then I'm going to feel bad that there's only 1/4 of the box left. So I'm just going to finish the whole box. And so that's another thing that they do, that some companies have actually gotten better and have done a little bit with it. But a lot of these items, they should be putting what the total calories per package is, because if people, instead of looking at the bag of looking at the bag of barbecue chips that you have and seeing that, oh, it's 180 calories per serving and there's 15 servings in here, instead of having to sit there and try to do the math and figure out how many possible calories that could be, you just think, oh, well, it's 170 calories. Well, that's fine. And then you eat a whole bag of chips, not realizing that you just had, 2,000 calories of food, because the box or the bag doesn't do the math for you. And we're not going to go to the effort to do the math. Especially when it gives us such an incredible dopamine response when we eat it. Like that's a big part of this food too, is that it makes us feel so good that we don't feel bad about our poor choices. And so you just have to be careful, and you have to keep paying attention to it and realizing that there's nothing placed anywhere by accident. There's no, when you go by these fast food restaurants, they intentionally make their signs a certain size, a certain color. The advertisements they put in their windows are a specific way. They're designed in a specific way. Pretty Girl's mom says, "Rant on, John." Yeah, no, it's frustrating, because I always knew that this was happening. Like it's a story. So when I was in elementary school, one of the trips that we would do is that we would take a field trip to a nearby university. It's about an hour away from where I grew up. And we would go and we went on this field trip and we visited the university. We looked at the campus and we visited the football field, and we went to the indoor arena where they did the basketball and the wrestling. And one of the big things they talked about was how the visitors' locker room was painted pink, and how they had these doctors or these scientists do research, and they found that pink is a very calming color. And so in order to give the home team a little bit of an edge, they painted the visitors' locker room pink. And it was kind of a big deal that there were some of the teams that they would play against that they would come in and they would cover the walls with white paper, because it was this competitive advantage that the home field was trying to get by using color. And when it's used that way, it's like, oh, that's really cool. They're doing that. But what you don't realize is that same study that they figured out that color has that effect on people's aggression, also found that a certain color of blue or yellow or orange caused hunger, or caused you to think about food, or caused you to any number of emotions that get you to buy their product. And they use that research and they use it against us, because they can, and it's celebrated when somebody makes a good marketing plan. And the Ruffles, I bet you just can't eat one. I bet that guy made millions. Or some, those programs, the Geico, the people that make these programs that do these marketing things, they're making boatloads of money. It's not always food related, but the ones that seem to affect us are food related. Cindy here says even the USDA, American Heart Association, or diabetic associations don't have our health in mind with their recommendations. Yes. Carrie says we were watching What the Health the other day, and it's very frustrating. No one's looking out for us. It's all about the money. Yes, it's a lot about the money. You know, these people have to get funded, they have to get paid, they have to justify their existence, and then there's corruption within inside of all of it as well too. You know, the and the it's really hard to trust anybody with it too. You know, like the doctors that I've been reading, I really like. And, you know, like I heard part of an interview today or a debate that Dr. Greger had. And one of the things that he said in the argument it just hit me. So like he said that, you know, people aren't dying of a lack of anything. There's not people dying from protein deficiency. You know, there's people that might have some iron deficiencies or these but they're not dying from the lack of something. If somebody has a lack of B12, they can fix it. They can find out, you know, they'll notice that there's something wrong. They'll get blood tests done. They can start taking a supplement. They can start adding it into their diet. Somebody who's low in protein, low in iron, people aren't dying from scurvy. They're not dying from these diseases of starvation and these diseases of malnutrition. Everybody's dying from diseases of excess. We're dying from heart disease. We're dying from diabetes. We're dying from strokes. You know, like the leading causes of death are because we're over consuming. We're eating too much protein. We're eating too much fat. We're eating too much sugar. We're eating too much salt. It's not a lack of food that is killing us. It's an excess of food that's killing us. And just, you know, hearing him say that really just like, it just speaks so true. Like, even if this diet isn't the healthiest, nobody's dying from this diet. People are dying every single day because they're eating the standard American diet or the Western diet or the modern diet. Like people just, they don't understand that it's this excess of calories, the excess of these nutrition, like it's, they say you got to drink your milk to get the calcium, but the fat in the milk is killing you. You know, like they put these labels on there to make you think there's something good about their food, but it's just a delivery mechanism for a poison that's going to kill you. And you let it happen because all you care about is the dopamine response. You don't realize that 15 minutes of joy that you get from eating that food just took 10 minutes off the end of your life. And you add that up and it ends up being years and years that it'll take off your life. And for me, I'm so happy that I made this change. I've gone from being just an incredibly unhealthy, unsatisfied person to being so much more vibrant and alive and excited for every day. So, but you know, just keep fighting for your health, keep making choices that improve your situation, that are better than the choices you were making. You know, like that's something that I haven't been perfect in the last 816 days, but for 816 days, I have been better than I was 817 days ago. Absolutely. There's no day, even when I had an incredible amount of processed food in the last 2 years, there's no day where I ate an unhealthier diet than I was eating prior to this. So just know that even if you're struggling, every day is better than what you could have been doing. So keep it up, guys. And Carrie says, absolutely, progress over perfection. So Thanks, guys, for all of the support. Thanks, Cindy, for the super sticker today. I appreciate that. We'll definitely pick up some broccoli with it. Everybody for the comments and the chat today. I appreciate it a lot. I'm very happy to have lost 1.6 pounds in the past week. I'm hoping I can keep that train going. Next week will kind of be like the end of January weigh-in. That gives me, I think that's 9 months left. So it'd be February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, so that's 9 months left after next week's weigh-in. So yep, you're welcome, Anthony. Thanks for participating and being here. Thank you, Cindy, and everybody else. You guys are all awesome. I plan to go live tomorrow. Oh, yeah, I have physical therapy tomorrow. I get to go and have my physical therapist say, well, I can't do anything for you. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Rebecca, you have a great night too. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you get subscribed to the channel. If you haven't clicked on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos, make sure that you do that. And if you have not liked this video, comment down below what the biggest marketing trick that you've seen that you can call out that drives you crazy. What is it? Leave that down below. And if you have not started your diet yet, get started today. There's nothing coming up that's more important than your health and your overall well-being. There's nobody that reaches their goal, looks back and says, man, I wish I would have waited. Everybody looks back and says they wish they would have started sooner. So get started today. We will see you guys tomorrow.